Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about one thing that we really need to be sure that we have in our lives, and that is having real compassion. But what is compassion? How do we know if we're really displaying real compassion? Jesus had compassion. He had compassion on the multitudes. How can we do this? Today I wanted to talk about that here on A Thought for Today. So the Bible says here in Jude, verse 22, and of some have compassion, making a difference. The next verse says in verse 23, and others save with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. And so what is this saying? Well, it's saying with some people you can make a difference. You might not be able to lead them to the Lord, but you can make a difference by having compassion. But on the other hand, there are people that need to be dealt with differently. And those type of people, you're going to have to pull out of the fire. That means you're going to have to get a little more serious, a little more blunt with them, and a little harsher. There's certain people that have gone through different things, and you have to learn and discern how you deal with it. The other day, I was handing out some tracts, and I saw some guy on the side of the road and gave him a tract and invited him to church. And he wanted to ride down the road. Well, with him, I wanted to make sure he wasn't lying, and so I asked him, where do you need to go? And he told me a few blocks. Well, he gets in my car, he starts touching things, and I said, hey, could you, please not touch that? And we were driving down the road, and it got pretty far. It wasn't just a couple blocks. And so then I had to call him out. Why did you say it was only a couple blocks if it's really far? And so I did drive him there, but I gave him the gospel, let him know the most important thing that he can know. Now, I was a little more straightforward with this guy. I gave him some compassion, but I needed to be a little more straightforward to get the message across. And so that he would stop in his tracks, that he would stop trying to beat around the bush, and he would listen. And even myself, I've had to been dealt with this way. A lot of times I learned the hard way. And I wish that wouldn't be the case, but it was when I wasn't saved. And my brother, he was going to a Baptist church in South Carolina. He would try to influence me, and I remember hearing John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Well, there was one time that he came home and he was visiting, and we spent some time together. But at that same time, I was under the influence of some drugs. And so he knew it. Well, we went home later that night, and I sat on the couch, and he came in the house, and he had his Bible in his hand, and he said, Shane, that's it. You gotta read this Bible. You gotta know what this says. I'm not gonna let the devil take my brother. And I just remember getting all scared and thinking, oh man, I don't want that book. I don't want to know what's in there. And I said, get away from me. I don't want any of that. And he said, no, Shane. And I cursed him out, and he left the room. And he was discouraged. But he dealt with me in a harsh, blunt, straight to the point way. Later on, that really affected me. Later on, I realized how bad I was for my brother to get to the point where he had to act that way. Where he had to act like the devil had full control over my life and he wasn't going to let it happen anymore. That's what really woke me up and made me realize how bad my life really was. And so sometimes people need to be dealt with a little harsher in that way. But let's get back to compassion. What is compassion? It's not just coming up to somebody and pretending that we care by showing some affection or even showing some comfort. It's a little more than that. It's getting to know how they think, why they feel the certain way that they feel. A lot of people, they brush off how other people think, and they see people in different situations, and they don't even give the time of day to understand why they're in that situation, what is in their mind to making them thinking they have to live that way. But this is what's going to make the difference, as we saw in the Bible. And of some have compassion. Jesus had compassion on a multitude. And so Jesus, what he would do was listen to people. What we need to do is really care to listen. Understand how they think, why they think the way they do. See, we need to base our lives off of knowledge. A lot of times we're believing lies, and these lies are tearing us down. And so we need to understand what they're believing that needs to be done away with, and the Bible needs to replace it. And so before you combat, you need to know your enemy. So having compassion is listening, wanting to understand somebody, and then putting yourself in that shoe. Understanding that, hey, with the right lies and the right circumstances, I could be in their situation as well. Giving that much of an effort to be able to pull them out of that situation, to be able to help guide them to what is truth, and to help them along the way. This is compassion. It's a fundamental characteristic that all Christians must have if we're ever going to impact people's lives and see a real change. So I encourage everybody here today, if you're Bible studying with somebody, if you're going out there and you want to make a difference in people's lives, have compassion. Listen to them and see why they feel the way they do. Well, thanks so much for listening today, guys. I hope this encouraged you here with A Thought for Today.